Welcome to Athletes to Entrepreneurs, the Alumni Journey. I'm Rob Finkelstein, founder and CEO of Alumni Direct, where we've created a platform to help athletes and other alumni network and connect amongst their peers. And in other areas too, just helping them with different types of resources. But this show is all about athletes transitioning out of sports. It's a major problem today between mental health, financial literacy, career services, different areas. And we interview former collegiate and professional athletes and talk about their journey into successful entrepreneurship as well as business leadership. And the idea is to teach and inspire athletes that there is life after sports. And we are so excited today to have McKenzie Hollenbaugh. How you doing, McKenzie?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm doing great. You're welcome. It's a pleasure. So McKenzie was a college soccer player at Boston University. And then from there, she went on to play professional soccer, both in the U.S. and then overseas. And once she transitioned out, she started getting some different cool things, got into event planning. And then ultimately, she still does that, but she started a company and it's called Marketing with McKenzie, which I really like that. We're joking about that offline. So McKenzie, I'm going to start out. I always talk about when you were growing up, how did sports shape you leading up into college?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think we talk a lot about that with some of our college athletes that I still mentor. There are so many more skills you learn from athletics that you don't get from a classroom, and they're more applicable, I think, to life in general than some of the stuff you learn in the classroom. I don't use geometry every day, but I definitely use my time management skills every day. And I learned that from sports and other, attributes that I really, attribute to sports is going to be the time management, how to brand yourself, how to interact on a team. So how to be the best individual self you can be, but then how does that fit and where do you fit within the team? And then, I think one of the biggest things I learned from sports was how to communicate with coaches and anyone that I am looking to mentor with or get into my network. There are certain ways to communicate and talk with people, and it's not always going to be exactly how you want to say something. So how you're going to word something, how you present yourself, which is a lot of that branding yourself. And the last thing I think is most important that I took from sports was confidence and how to deal with adversity, because nothing is going to go right. It's not a linear line, and that fake it till you make it. There's times to do it. There's times to not, but there's also times that you need to be honest with yourself and you're in learning your body and who you are. And I think those are the three main things that I took away from sports and how they've shaped me leading up into my collegiate career and my professional career, and then into my now, I guess, personal career as I'm going to say a real person.
Yeah. So we say real person, real life. It's all different things. So no, that was great. I mean, I think there's a lot that you talked about there that I think is important that athletes need to realize, because I think when it does come ultimately to it being finished with their careers, just using those skill sets is so critical. So next thing I'd like to talk about. When you were in school, and we talked a little bit offline about this, and I know you're a lot more you're closer removed from it than I am, but still things have changed. But was there programs kind of helping athletes look at that big picture of transitioning out of sports?
Yeah, so I think Boston University does a better job of this than most. In terms of being an athlete, I think it's a little more removed, but BU has a career center and they encourage everyone and actually get every student in there. And their alumni system is so dense and has so much depth, and they make you put in what's your major, what are you looking for, and they'll actually connect you with someone. They have a whole system and it'll pull out people that you can reach to. So I think in terms of a school overall, they do a really good job connecting with alumni. I think where it starts to differ is when you start getting into that athletics, because not everyone who is an athlete went there for the academics. Not everyone there is strictly just going to be sports. It's that intermingling that is a very fine line, and it's very different. We're going there for networking and to meet people and to party, but we're also going there for academics and athletics. So you're adding into other components that normal students don't have. Right. And BU has done a really good job the last, I'd say 5 years or so, really integrating the alumni back into the athletics community through not only one alumni game, but alumni mixers. And then the women's soccer team, I'm not sure about the other sports, but the women's soccer team started a mentorship program. I've been a part of it for, I think, 3 years now. And they match you with athletes who are in a similar major or are looking to get out into the world in a similar career that you've taken up. And you're able to, you get their emails, you get their phone numbers, you connect with them, and you're just a resource for them throughout the years. I actually got partnered with a computer engineer this year, and I am in hospitality. I'm a people person. I know nothing about computers or Python, any of that. But what's really cool is I'm utilizing my network that I have found through BU and getting out, and I'm connecting her to a couple of my friends who work for Snapchat and allowing them to talk to them. So it's definitely utilizing your network better. So
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you punched it. You put in like so much stuff there that I tell you, you probably answered like three
I
questions.
talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No, you answered three questions in one, but we'll still hit on each area because you covered a couple things. So I always talk about we'll talk about alumni engagement first. So which is great. It sounds like they're doing some good things, at least in the soccer program. I think it's important across the board for people to tap into alumni. So like when you were there playing, was there specific, besides that one-time event coming back for the game or something like that,
Yes.
were there more initiatives of alumni getting together?
They BU invited their alumni back about 3 times a year. So you had the big game, and then there'd be a mixer, and then at the end of the year when everyone was graduating, they really did encourage all of the alumni to come back and meet with the team,
Okay.
see them graduate. Not everyone does. I personally just don't think I took advantage of it enough. I don't think I understood the importance of it when I was that age, and I was, you're young, you know it all. I'm going off to play soccer. I did what I came here to do, kind of thing. And looking back, I really just wish I humbled myself just a little bit more in that area and just gathered more information. I mean, I think I took advantage of it to the extent that I thought I needed to. But obviously, hindsight 2020, I wish I went to every single mixer and picked someone to latch on to. Now that I'm older, I think that you can never have too many mentors. I think I have like 6 mentors now that I contact like twice a week or every other week just to talk, hey, what's going on with life? How's your business? Do you have any advice? Oh, this happened to me. Like, I don't know what to do. So yeah, I wish I just honed in a little more. And I think they do stuff and I just did not pay attention. So
Yeah, and and that's key advice. 'Cause I think sometimes I think it depends on sometimes the sport, the size of the
yeah,
school, how much, a lot of these, especially these like elite athletes, and you being one of them, going to play professionally. But I think you're so zoned into your sport sometimes
yeah,
that you're missing what's around. So I mean, that's the one advice we give is that tap in and utilize that alumni base not only when you're done, but when you're playing too. And that kind of falls into the question about networking, connecting. You kind of hit on it. You wish you would have done more of. So
yeah.
talk about the importance of doing it while you're still playing.
I mean, I can't stress it enough. There's just limitless information out there, and it's so overwhelming sometimes. And you don't need the information. You need to be able to do something with it. And I think that's what is missing a lot of times. You can go on any website, YouTube, you can get all of the information, but how are you going to apply it? And I think that was a part I missed a lot of it when I was there. Is like, okay, all that information was there, but I didn't apply it. I talked to somebody, but then I didn't take and do anything with it. So it's living in my brain. And now I'm like, oh, maybe it's 10 years later and I can apply it, but like, I definitely could have used it earlier. And I think there's a difference between just showing up and then showing up and being present.
Right.
And in sports, we're so used to doing that. You show up to practice and you have to be present because you want to play, right? So in sports, I think we're so used to doing something with our practice skills and putting it out there. And then it's transitioning that into the real world. Okay, now take all of that knowledge that you learned on the field and apply it to a game. Okay, all that knowledge you learned in the classroom or you're learning from your network, now apply that to your real life. And I think that was my biggest transition from sports into the real world was,
Right.
okay, it's in there, but now you
Right.
need to reapply it. You need to figure out how to use it in a different way.
Yeah.
And the network I have now is, I mean, it's vast, and I've drawn from hospitality, I've drawn from sports, And I love going back to some of my soccer friends now and seeing what they're doing in their real world and how I didn't know that was part of them when I was playing sports because we've
Yeah.
grown so much.
Oh yeah, and I think that the thing with networking, connecting, and back to like when people are playing sports, I've talked to some agents before, and they say that's the best time to do it because you're still relevant in a sense,
Yeah.
and
Your name's
so
out there.
yeah, your name's out there, people are looking up to you, so do that. I mean, it was interesting. I was talking to a group of young college athletes, freshmen and sophomore, play football, and the one thing I asked them about networking, connecting, they said they would love to know more about it. They haven't done it because I think
Yeah.
even back into high school, I mean, think about tapping into your friends and maybe their parents or coaches. I mean, there's people that want to help, and so we definitely encourage it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I still talk to girls now. I still coach soccer, and a lot of them ask, well, I'm looking to play in college, or I'd love to play after. And I'm like, okay, like what level, what experience? Are you trying to play pro, or are you trying to just maybe pro but a lower level? And I love being able to say, like, yeah, like, I have a connection in France. If you want to go abroad, I can reach out to my old coach. I can reach out to my old teammates and see if they're still playing. And I'm not saying I'm going to get you a spot, but I'm saying get your foot in the door. I'm saying I can get you somebody that can talk to you with more experience that's still there and knows all the current relevant information. So I think having that network is good, but again, it's what am I going to do with it? Like I can introduce you, but I can't get you on the team. Like that has to be you, and that's up to you. So again, it's using that information once you have it, not just relying like, oh, well, they got me the interview, or
Right,
it's not the
right.
real word one, but they got me to talk to the coach. So
And what was key there too, as you mentioned, I always talk about this when I'm talking about connecting with people. Is it's not necessarily sometimes who the person is that you're reaching out to, but it's who they know.
yeah,
So like here it is, you're talking about they're talking to you, and you're like, hey, let me connect you with somebody else. So it wasn't all about like Mackenzie's going to help me with this one thing, but she's going to introduce me to somebody who can.
yeah. So yeah, even if I can't get you there, I'll try. I'll do my best to help get you to somebody who can. But I mean, that's the value of a network. It might be a third or fourth connection getting you there. Maybe it's not your first, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the power and the strength of you know being personal, being out there, using your name while you have it, and then also branding yourself. Like be somebody people want to have on their team. Be somebody that somebody wants to recommend. Um, you know, if I could have a really good athlete, but if they're selfish, I'm like, I don't really know if I want you. I don't know if I
Yeah,
want you. I'm going to send you to my college coach as a recommendation because I know that's not the kind of athlete she goes for, the kind of person.
yeah.
But there might be a player little less technical, but a great person, very coachable, who could get to that next level. I was like, I'm probably going to be more inclined to recommend that person that I see the potential and they want it more than somebody who's like, well, I'm all that and I know I should be here. So I think that comes into play too, is how are you going to brand yourself, present yourself? How do you make yourself valuable?
Yeah, no, that's great. So now we're going to switch gears, and we talked a little bit. And I talked to Mackenzie. Put this out there about NIL, name, image, likeness, and it's kind of like there's a lot. There's the good parts, the bad parts. So share with me a little bit of your positives and negatives.
Yeah, I'll keep this one short. I feel like I have a lot to say, but on the positive side, I mean, I think a little bitter. We didn't have that, but on the positive side, I think it does help an athlete brand themselves and really hone in on the brands that they like, because shout out to BioFreeze and Noon if you want to sponsor me still. But I lived off BioFreeze, I lived off the Noon electrolytes. Anybody who came to me, I was like, here, use these tablets. So I think it's nice that they can get there, like you said, while you're relevant. You can get it out there, you can have an influence, and also you're helping people in the meantime. I also think if they weren't an athlete and they still felt this strong about a product, they could go and do a user generated content and be sponsored by a company, right? But since you're an athlete, you're going to get punished. I was like, so in that sense, I really do feel like it's beneficial. In another sense, though, if you're at a college and they're paying you to play and you have a scholarship, okay, so then you are receiving monetary money free to play. Technically, they're paying you to be there. They're paying you to get an education, right? So where does that brand deal fit into playing and getting that education? So that's it's always a fine line,
Right.
because you definitely don't want to punish an athlete for everything they've done to not let them get something that someone who wasn't could.
Right. Right.
And then on the flip side, I mean, you touched about it a lot, is the financial literacy. Like, people who don't have money, or even if you do, like, you don't know all the taxes that go into it, because a lot of these user generated content or brand deals, they don't come in with taxes taken out like your paycheck. You have to account for that. They don't know about savings account and where to put their money. And they don't teach you that in school. I think it should be mandatory that everyone goes through a personal finance class. I mean, BU did a great job teaching us about business finance, but I would say I really didn't know much about personal finance coming out. Learned that from my dad.
Right.
And the last thing I'll touch on is, I mean, we've seen it, I'm not naming names, but we've seen where people get these brand deals and then their academics drop or their athletics drop. And they're forgetting that the whole reason they were even able to get these brand deals was because of their athletics, because that school bet on them, because that school is giving them an education. Or they get so popular, they can't even go to class. And college is, it's about networking. It's about going out and finding yourself and meeting people. And if you can't go to class and do some of that stuff because you're so focused on those brand deals or getting your face out there, I just feel like we're missing a big part of what college is supposed to be about. Yeah. So I'll end myself there.
That's good. And so we said, I have another podcast that I do called NIL for You with my co-host Trent Clark. Great show. We talk about education, different things. So we're going to have McKenzie on that one too, because she does have a lot more to say, but we touched on it here. So this is always the fun part. I like, this is something I've added recently to my podcast. So first question for you is, what advice would you give to freshman McKenzie?
Oh goodness, freshman McKenzie. I would say I was so focused on wanting to be a starter as a freshman that I took myself a little too seriously, and I had never done that before. I'm always to play well, I have to have fun and be a goofball. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to step it up. And yeah, I think I just took myself a little bit too seriously, and I cut myself off from some friends, some networking and some opportunities, just like be a freshman and have some fun, because I was so focused on that. So I think it was like good and bad, but I would just told freshman me just to laugh a little more, loosen up just a little bit, and still enjoy the game just like you did, and keep that goal still high. I think that's what I would do.
And that's great. I'll tell you what, I mean, because you think about it, the key there is have fun. And I think, when we're growing up playing sports, we're having fun, but at some point it just turns into more of a, especially the better you get, more of a grind of just, you're so focused and kind of forget that. So that's good. The other question then would be, what advice would you give to senior McKenzie?
Oh goodness, senior McKenzie. Oh, senior McKenzie, what was she doing? Senior McKenzie had a lot of fun. Senior McKenzie, she was very focused. By the senior year, we found that balance of having fun and going out there. I think I would have told senior McKenzie to believe in herself, just be a little bit more crazy. I think, especially when you start getting into these higher levels, it's this flip of a switch that you're just a little more crazy than the rest, and that's what's going to get you out there. You're going to go for that tackle. You're going to go for that header. You're going to run through a brick wall kind of thing. I think I did that, but I think I could have been just a little bit more out there, a little more crazy, a little more risk taking. Ultimately, I did get that professional career, I did step up, but if I just had taken, that extra step, I think I could have done it a little faster. I think I could have made just a little bit more of an impact. So looking back, I think, I haven't looked back on that senior year in a while, but I think that would be mine is, stay true to yourself, still have fun, keep all your friends close, but, take that extra step and push yourself that little bit more. I think I always tell my kids now, like, you never know how strong you are until you push yourself a little further. And I think that's what I did every single year was, when you feel like you're going to pass out, your legs are going to give out. Can you keep going just a little bit more, right? Can you just give that little bit to see what you can do? I think I just gave a little bit more.
It's always great looking back, isn't it? It's kind of like, what's it? If I knew then what I know now, kind of a thing. But it's effective. So let's talk about transitioning out of sports. So you were, I guess we'll say, fortunate in the sense to have two transitions. One from transitioning from college to professional, and then from professional to the working world per se.
Mhm.
So, talk about your transition from college soccer to professional soccer.
College soccer to professional soccer, it's definitely a big leap in terms of mentality, how quick the play is. You're on a new team that's been together for, similar to something to college. The team's been together for a while, but the difference is some of those girls have been there for 5, 6, 7, 9 years, where college is transitioning out every 4 years, right? There's always a new team coming. When you step onto that professional team, not only are you at a higher level, but this higher level has been together longer. They have a way they like to play. The coach has been there. They have that culture. And you have, in college, you can kind of go to teams, right? You can go to different colleges and pick the kind of culture, the type of coach, kind of teammates you want to work with. When you're drafted out and you're put on a team, you kind of have to figure out where you live in that team as an individual and how you're going to benefit that culture. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not fitting that culture, you're going to be out. They're not going to take it. If you're hurting the team, even if you're really good, they're not going to stand for it. So, and then mentality wise is the level steps up. There's more fitness. You're dedicating most of your days and times to it. There's no more classes anymore. Your 4 hours a day you had at soccer, that's now 6 hours every day of that sport. So between taking care of your body a lot better, understanding and listening to it, fueling it even a little better. Because in college, we might say we fueled it well, but we know it was Domino's and dining hall food. So you don't have that backbone of the dining hall and people feeding you. So you have to figure out, nutritional wise, how am I going to fuel myself? Mentally, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to step up my level of game? How am I going to mold myself into this team and, integrate yourself into this team to find your place. And especially coming in as that rookie, like you got something on your head. People think you're taking their spots. So that belief you have to have in yourself and that confidence is so high. And I'm not saying fake it till you make it, but a little bit. Like you need to walk up every day, even if you're at the bottom of the ring, with your head up saying, no, I'm in the middle, I'm at the top. This is where I will be, while still being humble, while still respecting the team and the hierarchy and where you fall within it. And just showing up every day to be your best, even if that's not what you're feeling. So I think that was the biggest change, was really integrating yourself and not having that college support of the institution.
Yeah, no, it definitely changed. So now, let's take it from when you transition out of being a pro athlete. So here you've spent your whole life as a kid. You're playing, growing up. You're doing all these different things. You have a great college career. You're playing professionally. Now all of a sudden, the sport, even though you're still involved because of coaching, but let's just say the sport ended in a sense from being that professional athlete. How was that transition for you, and what did you do to get through it?
Yeah. So let's see. I got out when I was 26. I just turned 30. So I've only been out for like 4 years. So I'm still definitely, I'm going to say it doesn't happen overnight. It is still a transition. There's still parts of you that are like, oh yeah, I can do this. And you'll go out, play 30 minutes. And then I'm like, I'm down for the next 5 days. So that mentality of being an athlete's still there. And I really hone that into my career. So, showing up every day and being the best version, finding out where you belong and fit within that company, and who are your people, who are your allies, your boss is like your coach or your mentor, finding out, how much you can tell them, where is that work line versus that personal line. And then I think the biggest part for me was still staying active in any sense. It didn't have to be within sports, whether that was just getting to the gym, doing yoga. Because I did find my outlet for me, and where the world just kind of melts away and I can just be myself is with sports or being active. And so work, I think my mind got racing a lot more with all of my to-do lists, and then my personal life. And then, you start dating, you start getting a house, you have to learn all the finances, it's just all these things come in at once, and it can be overwhelming. So finding a place where you can center yourself. I know some people found it in journaling or reading. Other athletes, they're like, I can't work out anymore. Like, I'm burnt out. I don't enjoy going to the gym. I don't even enjoy like somebody telling me what to do. I'm like, that's fine. But they got into reading or journaling. So definitely finding that place that you can just kind of be yourself, let it all melt away, you can quiet your mind, really helped me. And that was still working out or coaching for me.
Right.
So and then I still play semi-pro in the summer, so I get in there with the young bucks. I think they're all like, the youngest I think is 21, and so I pretend to be 21 for an hour and a half, 2 times a week in the summer for like
There you
3 months. And they say, "You're 30." I'm like, shh. But yeah, I still have fun and just showing them there's different kinds of play. I used to just run around, go all in, go hard. And now I'm older. I'm like, I can't do that. So I have to play smarter. So just working with them and showing them there's different ways to play. There's still different ways to have fun with the game, even when you're out or during college. It doesn't always have to be so serious.
Right.
And the game should be fun, like games and everything. Yes, serious. Put your best foot out there. You are there to perform. You're there to have fun. You are there to, kick someone's butt. But at the end of the day, like, you should still be able to laugh and enjoy it and enjoy like feeling your legs burn and being exhausted. So
Yeah. Now you had a lot of good kind of advice there too, but just kind of summarize just a couple key words of advice to athletes that are struggling when they're done with sport.
mine would be find someone to talk to. So find that mentor and just, I'm not saying unload, but unload. Get all your feelings out. Holding them in it's not healthy. I did that for a little bit, just, and you're like in your head thinking back about, oh, did I stop at the right time? Can I still do something? Like, don't think that way. Talk to somebody because somebody else has been through it. And my other one is find something that is you, whether that's reading, journaling, going on a walk, getting a dog. I got a dog, really helped. But finding that part of you that is not defined by sports. And I did find that in event planning because it's a high pressure environment, but it's still my career and I love it. So definitely, what part of you is not attached to sports that is you? I think that's one of the biggest things. And that comes from talking to people, whether that is an athlete, whether that is someone who is just out in their career, their mom, your sister, your brother, just a friend. But just voicing it and getting it out of your head is 1,000% worth it, even if it sounds crazy. Just let it out.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of dogs, if people hear that dog in the background, do a little barking there. So let's talk about I always kind of say the corporate commercial, so to speak. But you got an event planning, but ultimately, it's you're doing that, but marketing with McKenzie. Talk a little bit about marketing with McKenzie and ultimately how people can find you.
Yeah, so Marketing McKenzie is my nice little side gig that I really found during a quiet time in my life. I was like, I put all my eggs. I love event planning, and I was like, I need something else under my belt. I need to get in the corporate world, got to push myself a little bit and get some more skills. And so, yeah, I had some friends who had asked me if I could do some social media marketing after they saw what I was doing with MPI Pittsburgh, which is an event planning association. And I said, sure, I'll give it a go. And I got certified in social media advertisement and management. So what I do is I work with companies to get ads for products, services, coaching services, salons, any service. I create ads, ad copy, graphics, and I run them on Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads to get them more leads, get them more business, and get their product and their brand out there for visibility. So that's what I've been doing. And I do dabble in a little bit of Google SEO, but that's definitely something I'm still growing that skill set. But yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me at Marketing with McKenzie on Instagram, or you can reach out to me at McKenzieHollenbaugh@gmail.com, or find me on LinkedIn at McKenzie Hollenbaugh.
That's great. And we'll definitely put that out there in our social media. And then just one other question kind of tied into social media. What advice would you give to athletes, and we touched on the whole NIL thing, but in the ways to positively use social media?
Yeah, and the ways to positively use social media, I would say be authentic and be yourself. Don't only put, people a lot of times put out the version that they just want people to see. And I think that's where it can get a little dangerous is on your story, even if it's only your stories, like be your authentic self. It's okay to show people the real and raw you, without no makeup and with it not all done up. And then don't get caught up in it. like I said, people put out the version that they want to see. No one's life is that perfect. Like I said, sports really helped me deal with adversity and setbacks, and everybody has them in their lives, and that is life. You're gonna have ups and downs, and it ebbs and flows. And social media is not the right representation of life a lot of times. So be real, be raw, and take everything you see on there with a grain of salt. And you don't need everything you see on TikTok or Instagram. I'm guilty of buying so much stuff on the TikTok shop and the Instagram shops. It's okay. You can go without it. I definitely had to take a step back from that. But yeah, enjoy the real world and the real life. You don't have to film it all, even though it's great. Or if you do film it, you don't always have to post it, but it is great to see those come back up on your memories and stuff. So, just remember to enjoy the real part of life and be present when people are standing there right in front of you. Don't lose that human aspect.
Yeah, that's great advice. So you can find us. This has been great, McKenzie, and we really appreciate it. You can find us at alumnidirect.com. The podcast is on our Alumni Direct YouTube channel, as well as you'll see it across all the podcast networks. And I really encourage people to watch or listen, because there's so much great advice and things like McKenzie gave today and these other athletes. Transitioning out of sports just in general, it's hard, and there's people out there to help you. So definitely tune in each week, and we thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.